Hi, I'm Gavin, and welcome back to the S.O.U.N.D Project. So I have the pleasure of sitting down with my good friend Nick from Electric Feel, and thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
You've been on our channel a lot. You've been on a podcast and a studio tour, and so I'm excited to sit down again with you and talk about integration.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I know that you've worn a lot of hats in a studio.
Been lucky to do that, yeah.
And so I do want to get to the integration side of things, but maybe was that always an interest of yours? Or?
You know, it's kind of, looking back at it, you fall into it. You know what I mean? It's not something like, hey, I want to plug everything in, you know? So, I mean, if you're asking how I got started, I mean, a friend of my mom's when I was younger, his name was Matt Holder. He gave me, I don't know why he did this. He was so nice. He gave me a box full of guitar pedals, like good stuff. I mean, really good stuff. I have it today still, you know, vintage talk box and wah pedals and all this kind of stuff that's just really great. But in the box was, you know, also a bunch of, you know, cabling, XLRs, balanced, unbalanced, mixture of both. And my whole thing has always been very, you know, coming from the punk scene, DIY, making things. If you don't have it, just build it. Why not? So, you know, coming from having nothing, it's just, I'll just build it. So I've always had that mentality of just figure it out and create it. So, you know, getting that big box of pedals and then, you know, not having a real interface and kind of like putting all this stuff together. That's just kind of how it started.
Yeah.
Just starting as a guitar player, trying to plug things in and then like, oh, I'd like to have a studio so I could work. Then you need to figure all this stuff out and I don't want to pay for it. So that's kind of, you know, I didn't want to pay the $400 to record a record. So, you know, you just kind of fall in the trap and then it's not good. So that you got to figure out, redeem yourself, you know?
And if you're good at it, then everyone wants you to continue doing it.
Hopefully so. Yeah. You have to try to earn that and then maintain that. So yeah. It's a good challenge. It's fun.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in Electric Feel, Nashville, which is a studio that you wired up and even procured the gear and selected everything. And so I'd love to, because it's such an important topic. We talk with our clients all the time about AV integration and how everything comes together. Because obviously we're handling architectural acoustics and isolation and interior sound quality and all of that. But there's so much that goes typically unseen. You know, it's like cables behind the walls that people don't know how they get there. It's just magic.
They just end up there somehow, you know?
Right.
Who knows?
But that's all was your job on this project.
Definitely.
And I know that took a long time, a lot of thought, planning, but then execution
absolutely
takes a ton too.
Yeah.
So what's the process like? Maybe just start from the beginning when we got this space and you wanted to rearrange it. Like, what's the first thing that you do? Is it gear selection or? You
know, well, first thing I always do for whether it's an Electric Feel project or a friend or a client outside Electric Feel, I want to understand how people work. I want to know exactly what their workflow is and what, you know, they're going to, you know, want to do in the room so that they can kind of, you know, see how they've been working. Do they have things that they want to change? Do they want to upgrade? You know, I'm not really a person to try to tell people what to do. I want them to tell me what they're trying to accomplish. So that's the first thing. You know, obviously working for Electric Feel for, you know, the better part of a decade, it's, you know, I kind of understand what the company needs for the most part. And things do change. But, you know, from that understanding and being able to know what we need to put in here, basically just understanding what we can put, what's the size of the room, where we're going to need different, you know, panel locations, what kind of flexibility I want to put in there, just understanding what the flexibility is. And then I like to open Keynote and just draw stuff out and arrows and stuff and get different, you know, pieces of gear and visually lay it out. I'm a very visual thinker and I learned from doing things. So I lay it out visually first, you know, and if I understand what pieces I want to put in the room, then I go, okay, how do I connect these together? So then it starts connecting the dots. And that's kind of how it works for me. You know what I mean? Very visual. So I lay it all out. And it's kind of cool by the end of the process too. I'm doing one right now where, you know, I've done all that. And by the end, I have almost like a manual for the person that's operating the studio. They can see what I've put in there. I have receipts. I've got, you know, for instance, if you buy a certain amount of Mogami, you get little stickers. So I think it's kind of cool to show them. They've got the genuine article in there. So, you know, just little stuff like that. So that's how I go about it to start.
That's great. And then obviously you have to source everything and get it here and test it and all of that. So what's that process like for you?
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when it's over. But no, it's great. You know, once the gear, it's time for the gear to go in, the cable's already run. That's the fun part. That's the part to, you know, because I always pre-test. I do I test when I'm done manufacturing the cables, because what I like to do if I have the option is manufacture everything from scratch. Bulk cable, connectors, you know, put it all together myself, test it when it's done on the bench, and then come in the room, test it again, and then plug the gear in and test it that way as well. Right. So, once the gear's going in, it's fun time. It's run, sine wave and tone and stuff like that, and make sure everything's showing up where it is. And by that point, if you've done those 3 different checks, I find 98% of the time everything's great. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So as you're putting all of this together, I'm sure you're thinking a lot about future-proofing spaces as well.
Absolutely.
And you're probably running more cables than maybe even that you need to.
Sure, absolutely.
At the time.
Yeah, definitely.
In a space like this, I mean, there's so many rooms. There's a live room and then 6 ISO booths as well. And
absolutely.
And so what kind of things are you typically looking for to just put in those conduit runs to make it flexible?
It's a great question. Anything from Ethernet to, maybe another 8 pair of something just in case, because on some of the panels around the facility, you'll see little blank spots, and there's on some of them just cable ready to go, or even just understanding what the client does, what their field is. And I think we can kind of all at this point get a good sense of what's coming next to a certain degree, at least maybe the next 5 years, kind of understand what's happening. So you can kind of plan for that a little bit. So things like Ethernet, USB, or HDMI, whatever it is, you know what I mean? DSub, whatever. I like to have a conversation with the client to kind of determine that, and then I can throw out ideas to see, but one of the things that I like to really do is just, have enough cable if they want to move setups that they can reuse the same thing again. And I find that, there's certain lengths, like if I don't know the length of something, usually 15 feet, I'll leave myself 15 feet, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much, you know what I mean? But you just got to learn how to hide it and trick little things. But because I've had a few clients move studios, like Ian and Golden, I did their home studios and they've moved multiple times and I've helped move them. And you never know where something's going to go.
Right.
So, leaving yourself some breadcrumbs for the next time, or somebody else who's going to come along to do that definitely helps. Yeah. So that's kind of what I do.
And one thing in this studio, and I've seen other studios that you've worked in, is that you really don't see cables anywhere, which is, I know that is a thing for you.
It is. I was telling you this earlier, one of the things, like you just said, I like it to be a blank slate. When someone walks in it and it's default mode, it looks presentable, it feels clean, you have that option. If you want to leave things and they just don't, that's up to them, it's fine. But, I want it to be as clean and as free of that as possible. There's hundreds of connections on the back of this and everywhere, but I really want to get it to be clean, tight, and, as professional looking as possible. Yeah, it just makes me feel at peace. So I want to give other people that too. So
that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I find myself when I'm at work and my desk starts to get cluttered, I'm less efficient. I'm scattered a little bit. And so when you walk in here, it's very, very clear.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you have a series on YouTube somewhere or on Instagram or something where you go and give advice that's with whatever they already have. It's like simple advice.
Sure. Yeah.
I have one right now. It's like if you just literally clean your cables up, wrap them and hide them and make it look presentable, I think it's a dramatic improvement.
Yeah, I wrote an article about just 5 easy things you can do.
Maybe that's what it was.
In a studio, and one of them was just clean up the cables.
100%. I think that's one of the ones for me, visually speaking. Like whenever I walk into, a room as an engineer, if it's clean, man, it feels good. It feels like a clean slate, a fresh start. I love that. So yeah.
What's typically on a project like this, what's your biggest obstacles that are challenges that you ran into on something like
That's a really good question. So this one was an interesting one because there was existing cable in the walls. And like I was telling you, I'm really glad that it was Mogami. I'm a huge diehard fan. I mean, there's, Redco makes great, the good stuff, TGS, they're great option. But I really like to purchase Mogami when I can. Yeah. And all of the stuff that I would have gotten was already in the walls, which was great. So the only thing I would have done maybe is, I like to overspec, like for instance, in the booth 4 we've got back there's 8 mic input. I would have probably done like 16 just to be a little overkill.
Yeah.
But it just didn't need it. And it, that's me being neurotic. But, so the challenge there was a certain amount of length on the leads from that are run into the control room, which were on Elcos. And I love Elco connections, they're great, but I had, the Redco bays already, they're DB25. So repurposing those, that was the easy part. That was fine. I would have to do it anyways. But the length, you're stuck with the length unless you rerun, which we didn't have that option. Right. So it made it work. It was just perfect, the right amount of length that I needed to connect the stuff to the bays, and I was thankful for that. Yeah. And that was probably the biggest obstacle. But I actually forget about this from time to time. But the orientation of the room was this way. The console was supposed to be here. We decided to turn it. And I had some cables left over from this other Miami project that wasn't happening. We obviously have the big Miami build, but there was another kind of secondary studio offsite from that, and we put that on pause for now. And I think it was 30 feet of cable or something like that, and I needed it shorter. And this was before we changed the where the desk was going to go. And I was like, oh, I've got this. I can just cut it in half, and I've got both ends. Now I can just put the connections on the other end, and I've just, basically cut my work in half. I made the last cut and finished it, and I got a call from Danielle, and she said, hey, we're actually going to move it. And I said, oh, well, these don't work anymore. But thankfully, I found use for them, and I didn't waste anything. So it worked. I was actually really happy at the end. I said, oh, I got all this extra D-sub stuff. So,
well, and you made a lot of this in California, right?
Yeah, I made all of it.
Offsite.
I made all. The only thing I made here was the connections on the panel sides coming from the panels to the patch bay, and I think the Pro Tools inputs, I did those sitting right here. Everything else was manufactured in my tech shop, aka the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably a challenge too, like not being there on site. I mean, obviously you have diagrams and measurements to go off of, but I know anytime I'm working on a project, I'm always going out and trying to measure things 3 or 4 times before cutting. So
I mean, they always say, measure twice, cut once. I measured like 4 times and then cut hopefully once or twice. But no, for sure. I mean, I did have the luxury of coming a couple times, but once it was, got the call, I was like, all right, well, that's where the 15-foot thing came into play. I was like, if I do this much extra, I've got some wiggle room. So, just creating some guesstimation with your hard facts is important. And, no, it was a lot of fun, but,
Is there anything like you've been in a lot of studios, obviously, is there anything that you see that's a common, I don't want to say mistake, but just maybe a lost opportunity that people could have done in their studio that you like to integrate into your
I'd say Thailand's, man. It's so simple. I mean, a lot of I think the home studios are like all the way up to like, you see a lot of legacy studios, plenty of Thailands. I mean, behind the credenzas and islands and stuff, you can put, the biggest thing is like running producer setups or being able to patch people in certain places. I mean, Thailands are so, easy to forget about, but so useful. I mean, we've got them on both sides of the room in D-sub and XLR format. And I mean, it just makes things so much easier. So Thailands is one. Guitar lines too, I see those disappearing a lot.
Yeah.
It's just helpful to have them, what I mean? And then also, not something that, well, I guess this would be an opportunity that people kind of miss is like the digital outputs from pieces of gear, like the Focusrite, 820, I think they're 828s, are they? Can't remember. Yeah, 828s. And the ASP A80, they've got the, A80's got the A to D input and then the optical card out. I mean, being able to put those up to patch and let someone have an Apollo up here and then they can have 8 more channels. I mean, that's such a cool opportunity. Yeah. It's fun that it's just on the panel too. Because, I don't know, it's just, hey, plug in, you're ready to go. So
it's really awesome.
And I have that in LA as well, have that here. So, and those have been great. So, awesome. Very helpful.
So we talked about this before, but how long did it take to do this entire space? Entire space,
I'd have to look back, but I think we acquired it late, midsummer, and then pretty much started right away working on it, because you have to. So that was me coming here and seeing discovery, what is here, what is the cabling, where does it go? Thankfully, the last integrator, they labeled things pretty well. I had to trace some stuff, but it was just stuffed in the walls. Yeah. So I just pulled it out and was able to repurpose it. But, I had the floor marked out for different console footprints because I did a whole presentation to our CEO, Austin, about the console options and whatever else. So starting there and then, spent probably a month every day in my tech shop in the garage, just making cables and, putting things together and crimping stuff and doing all that. So, but it's really fun once it's over. Once it's done.
And right now we're working on another project together. Eric Ron's studio.
Oh, that one too. Yeah. Eric's great. He's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really fun. That one's going to be a really nice place. And another one that we get to do with Built by Rosetone.
Great.
And Christian and his crew.
Absolutely.
On that project, it's obviously not as many rooms as this one, but again, you probably had to have early conversations with him about how he's using it. And
absolutely, yeah. My whole thing, again, it's not to sell people stuff. I mean, I'm not like a gear broker yet. I mean, who knows? But I really want to know what they're doing and what, is there something in their workflow that they don't like? Yeah. Is there something that's kind of cumbersome that they can change and then try to, offer suggestions if needed to help them get through that. But yeah, I mean, he's been so cool and so articulate about what he wants, and, which really helps. I mean, sometimes people, you probably encounter it where they're not sure and they need a little bit, guidance about that, which is not hard to do. But, when people know exactly what they want, it's fun because it's just like, all right, cool, bang, bang, bang. And then present them with the plan. And it's like, great.
I think it's great too to talk to people about what they, not just what they like, but what they dislike.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Because we do that all the time.
Absolutely.
Where if they're coming from a studio and we're building a new one, it's like, okay, tell me everything about that one. Yeah. Tell me the things you loved about it, but tell me the things that just made you pull your hair out.
Absolutely.
For sure. So we can avoid those things in the next one. So.
Absolutely. I mean, we did that too, even for myself, I did that with LA when we renovated that. What do I not like about this? I don't like how you can see cables running all over the floor. So Thailand's there. Yeah. That's simple. because we had them going across the floor all different ways, just because it was limited before. And that was my first one. I was like, I want that done. I want that dead. So that was the first thing I did.
Nice.
But yeah, that's always a good way to look at it.
Nice. Is this something that, obviously you've done quite a few of these, is this something that you're wanting to do more and more of?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really enjoy helping people, and I think being an engineer for long enough to really work in great studios that are maybe not that great but still cool, and just kind of understand the balance and the necessity of both those environments, but also things that I like, how I like to work, and offer that kind of, it's really fun, and just being a part of something that's really, when you build a studio, it's like a really special place. It's a really something to put a lot of money into it, a lot of time, it's a lot of anticipation for it to be finished, and then getting there and start making the music. It's really cool to be a part of that, and be able to share that with people. It's a lot of fun to help people.
Well, and I think that too, any client that were to hire you would be very lucky, because I know that you'll be, good stewards of their funds, and then also just care about what they do.
Absolutely.
Because it's not, I just know you for so many years, is that it's not just a transactional thing with you, and it's something that means a lot. So
it does. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has done this, but I've definitely, when first starting engineering, but early on engineering, accepting jobs based on finances alone, like I'm just going to take this job because I want to get paid. Those were never as good. I made a very clear choice that, and it was not, malicious or anything. It was just working in a way I didn't want to work, just taking the job or whatever. But, definitely when people pay me for something, I have to get paid, obviously, but it's more about, doing a really good job, reputation, you have your name, keeping that name, and also helping protect their reputation too, because they're going to use this stuff for their career and what they do. And if it doesn't work, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for anybody. We're all on the hook. So no, I really do care. And it makes me feel, I really, truly, I think, looking over the electric field studios and teaching the staff, and, I just really enjoy helping people. I love it. You know what I mean? Because you get burned out pretty easy. So
well, and I think that too, you strike me as someone who really likes a challenge, and just like something that's different.
Oh yeah.
And that's the cool thing about all these spaces that you're working in, is that none of them are the same, and there's going to be something different that you have to think about for every one of them. I
mean, it's so cool to wake up and have, obviously there's certain challenges that are really stressful. That's a reality, and it's all, how you deal with it. That helps put a little layer of seasoning on the pan, just kind of, then next time you come around to it, you've learned that, and okay, I can do this. That's such a great feeling. I was at a friend's studio yesterday, and even with just separating power and signal, a simple thing. I mean, you deal with that enough times, and you just go, oh, I know what this is, and then it's like, oh, cool. And that's a big one that I think a lot of people don't realize, that issue. So
I think anytime you can solve a problem for somebody, it's extra special feeling. It's not just like a slight upgrade, but if it's something they've really been struggling with for a long time, and you can fix that.
Oh, that's great. No, I just like feeling useful and helpful. I don't know why that is, but just it is a great feeling. Like, just now they're able to go do their thing, and studios are so special. I mean, I probably go on and on about it every time I'm on a podcast or something, but it's like, I just think there's such great spaces, and to go and be, and there's such a variation of, and we were talking earlier, it's like, there's some dumpy places like I've recorded, which were literally awful, but so cool, because that's the ethos, and you have to have those just as well as the really high end ones. Right. It's just, symbiotic in a way. So. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for, the projects we get to work on together in the future. Absolutely. And then also, I just appreciate you talking about this topic with us, because it's something that we talk about with our clients all the time, about how important this step is, because sometimes it's just fun to get the gear, but then it's a matter of like,
now what?
All right, now what?
Yeah,
and so
for sure.
We always try to introduce them to good people like yourself that can help them out.
Thank you. And there's a lot of, especially in Nashville, there's a lot of great people that do this stuff. Like Trace Audio's just over there a bit, and Ben over there. We've met a couple times and bought some stuff from him. They do integration too, and incredible work. And it's really cool to have peers to see stuff that they do, and it's like, wow, that's so clean. And it's inspiring. And there's not a lot of stuff on the internet. I've done a lot of research trying to look at what other people are doing, just to because nobody really showed me how to do stuff. I mean, I had a chief engineer. His name was Jason Dunahee at a Perfect Sound Studios in LA, where I used to work, and he taught us how to clean the cards and Neves and things like that. I'm not a licensed Neve tech or anything, but that's where I started taking gear apart and stuff, and was really kind of would show us how to do things, but then not micromanage and let us do it. He was really great about that.
That's awesome.
But after that, it was just kind of like that really inspired me, because it was so fun to see all the inside stuff and see it working again and all that, and but there's not a lot of information out there about it. There's manuals of things. You just kind of have to sit down and glue it down for yourself. And, get dirty and make things horribly at first, and then so
yeah, allow yourself to fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a big part of it too.
I mean, man, that's just how it goes with whatever. And it's what you do with that. Like, do you get down and inspired, or do you get down about it and then not try again? Right. So it really is try again, which will drive you crazy, but
yeah,
it's kind of fun.
It is fun. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with what we do for a living. It's just, I never know at all. You know? And if you ever think that you do, then
it's scary.
Yeah.
Going overconfident. It's like, I mean, you always want to carry the energy of like being able to swing the bat at the ball, because if you don't, then other people are like, oh, this guy's it's weird. But like, I mean, really honestly, the thing that kind of the light bulb moment for me was like, wait, positive, negative ground, that's a balanced connection. It's just connecting it to different shapes. Okay. Like different, XLR, TRS, D sub, whatever, E3, whatever it is. It's just, then it's not that hard. That's how I thought of it.
Put it together.
Yeah. And then you just got to get good at putting it together. And then, so.
And you have gotten good at putting it together.
Thankfully, just the instrument, not the hand. But hey, just trying to do the best I can every day. So
that's awesome. Well,
yeah, man.
I appreciate all that you do. And like I said, I know that if you're on a project, then everything's going to turn out pretty well. I
appreciate that. I try my best. I really do. It's a whole lot of fun. I mean, I just really like having a lot of fires burning at once. So like, and with a project like this, it's like, there's a lot of things to worry about. You got to worry about the power, making sure connections are solid, making sure existing stuff is working and, because all the stuff was already here, like I said. So making sure that things were labeled right. We got a lot of Ethernet in here. That was really fun to go through and find cables and stuff. Actually, Mate was helping me search for the speaker lines. We spent 3 hours doing that. Yeah. We finally found it. Was like, and then on to the next thing. It's just a lot of fun, man. It's just fun to be doing stuff, tearing things open and just, and then putting them back together like it never happened.
Right.
It's fun. It's stressful too, but it's fun. It's a good time.
Well, I appreciate you, Nick, for sitting down on the podcast.
Of course,
with us
thank you
again.
so much.
It's always great to see you.
Likewise, man.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Hey, man, we always find stuff to do. So
that's right.
Thanks, Gavin.
Yep. No
appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, that's been another episode of the S.O.U.N.D Project. Thanks for being a part of it, and we'll see you next week.